700 years before the birth of Christ, the prophet Isaiah foretold his coming. Chapter 9, verse 2. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. Well, that is the very real experience of the couple joining me from Guelph, Ontario. It is a pleasure to have Mike and Mabel Gordon here. They have been married for 42 years, and that's just part of the story of Amazing Grace. Welcome, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to give a little hint to those watching that even as you've arrived today, there are unfolding surprises in your journey.
Yes.
And I read a little book literally called From Darkness to Light. You've had many editions of this shared, you both tell your story here, shared testimonies. Right. And if you want to get a copy of what you're going to hear today, you can come to our website at crossroads.ca and we'll connect you to these folks. You may want to connect with them for other reasons too. But let's tell this amazing story. And I'm going to start with Mabel, growing up on a farm in Palmerston,
Yes.
Ontario.
Yes. I was born on a farm. My mother and father and my brother and I lived on the farm. My brother is 3 years older than I. But many tragedies happened in my life. First, I lost my father when I was 7 years old, and he had died on his way from the barn to the house. So my mother, my brother, and I found him.
It was a massive heart
Dead.
attack,
yes,
wasn't it?
He died of a
and
massive
he was
heart
just
attack.
40?
40 years old.
40.
Yes. So my mother sold the farm and moved to Guelph. And 4 years later, my mother died of a stroke, and she was 41 years old. Mm. So we were devastated, my brother and I. We had relatives who offered to take us in, and so we were in different homes. We were separated for a period of a few years, which was very difficult because we wanted to be together.
Of course.
But
was it a grandmother who enabled you to come together again?
yes, she offered to take us both in with her, and different situations happened in our life that were very sad. There was sexual abuse. There was emotional abuse to some people that Frank and I had looked up to and thought that they were concerned about our welfare. But so these things that happened in my life caused me to become very angry and bitter. I became angry at God. I blamed God for taking my parents when I was so young. And so as a result, I became very bitter, angry.
It looks like a downward spiral here, Mabel.
Yes, I was going in a downward spiral. I became very strong against showing any emotions because I thought that if I did, that I was showing a weakness. So I thought I needed to be strong to survive. So I put on this front that everything was fine, nothing was bothering me, but inside I was like a volcano ready to erupt.
And no wonder. Can I fill in a few blanks?
Sure.
You were raped by
Yes.
a date,
Yes.
a man who was on a date with you before you turned 15.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That man would go to jail.
He did. Yes, he did.
Your grades went down. You failed grade 10. You quit school at 15.
Yes.
But somewhere before you bailed on school, you met this man.
That's right.
When was that, Mike?
Mabel was 14 and I was 16 in high school.
And you actually dated
We
somewhere
dated.
in there?
Yes, we did. Yes.
But it didn't stick.
It didn't stick. No. No, we dated for about 2 years, I think, and then Mabel went her way and I went my way.
Now, before we catch up on the two of you, you had some hiccups at the beginning. You're one of 5 children.
Yes.
Second born?
Yes, 7 children.
7?
Yes, 5 girls.
Where did those two go? Your parents sent you to church briefly.
Yes, they did. One was a church on the next street, a little house church, and
Didn't work out too well.
No. One of the younger guys and I got in a fight in the hallway, and the pastor gave us both 25 cents, if we would quit fighting. So that made church a very profitable thing for me.
Dear. And you didn't do too well in school either.
No, I didn't. No, I went to probably the first grade in high school, and I was more interested in, living my own kind of a life. I was quite rebellious, and my parents said I could quit if I went to business college, which I did do, and went for just a few months, and then I left there.
Well, that has had some significant fruit.
Yes.
You still co-own a successful company in golf.
Yes. Royal City Fasteners.
So, I mean, we've got to get a positive in here somewhere.
Yes.
Now, you two would reconnect. At what point?
We met, I had been married when I was quite young, and I had my son, and I was expecting another baby, my daughter, and I met Mike, and I had separated from my husband, and so Mike and I met again, and we started dating, and we ended up getting married, and Mike adopted my two little children, and they were quite young, so they really just remember him as their father, and so that's when we were married in 1967.
Now, I wasn't sure if I got the date, April 15th?
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
1967.
Yes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You skipped a part there. Was that on purpose?
No.
Okay.
Before we were married, I became pregnant, and I had an abortion.
Right.
Is that something you decided together?
Yes,
Right,
we
right.
did.
Yes.
And I believe that having the abortion led to my beginnings of having a nervous breakdown and leading me into depression. And I became so depressed. I was seeing psychiatrists for a period of 5 years, and I was on many medications. And I believe that having the abortion opened up the door for that.
Tremendous
And
guilt.
So the guilt, yes.
Absolutely.
And also the abuse that had happened previously.
You know what tears my heart is to read that through all the tragedies, and I hope at home you've been able to track with this. It's almost insurmountable, all that you've been through already. You never cried one tear. You had never shed a tear.
No.
Not for the loss of your parents, not for all the abuses.
No.
You talk about going to the cemetery, to your parents' graves.
Yes.
But even there, no tears.
No. I went there to see if I could find some expression of sorrow and grief and to release myself from what was built up inside of me, but I couldn't. I just turned and walked away and went home.
Mike, you say that the psychiatrists and doctors could take her all apart, but they couldn't put her back together again.
No, that's exactly right. Yes. And we were, we visited doctors all over Ontario, but they were all the same. Couldn't put her back together. Yes.
Now, maybe a turning point was when they wanted you to come for counseling.
That's right. Mabel became an outpatient at a institution in Guelph, and I took her to this particular meeting and waiting for her in a crowded waiting room. And a young lady came over with a form for me to fill out, and I realized after reading the form that they wanted me to also be a patient.